Hey y'all, Karlavarak Jaguar back at it with another video. If you can like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and I hope y'all enjoy the content. Today I'm going to be ranking the NFL Divisions from worst to first. Starting off with the NFC South as the worst division in the NFL. Now that's not to say that the teams here are bad or the players are necessarily bad. However, I do believe that the one reason why the division is going to be the worst is because I'm not yet sold on the Panthers nor the Falcons as a playoff contender just yet. I do believe that they will get there, but they do have some questions to answer before I am confident in them as a long-term playoff team. While the Bucs still maintain control of the division. The Saints, on the other hand, I believe that there's a high chance that they end up with a number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft and will be looking for their next quarterback in this upcoming draft. And that could be either Clemson's Cade Klubnik or Arch Manning. We shall see how things play out. But I do believe that the Saints have a very real chance to take the number 1 overall pick, and that's why this division is ranked as the worst division in the league. Coming in at number 7, I have the AFC East. Yes, the Bills are great. They're going to be in contention for Super Bowl. However, that cannot be said for the other 3 teams in the division. The Jets, I believe, are going to end up being in the top 3 in this upcoming draft in terms of draft pick. So I have very little confidence that they will be doing much of anything this year, although they do have some really good players. But I do think that it's going to be a transition for everyone. A transition for their new GM, a transition for their new head coach, Aaron Glenn, a transition for Justin Fields trying to find his footing in the NFL, and also just the overall change of scheme, as well as a learning curve for Aaron Glenn as a head coach. Great defensive coordinator, but needs to learn how to actually manage an entire team, and that takes time. So I do think that things are on the way up for Glenn. However, I don't see it as going to be helpful this year. And they, too, could be playing for a quarterback in the 2026 NFL Draft, depending on how Fields plays this year. Also, the Patriots, I am very cautious of Mike Vrabel. He had a great running game in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, but that was about it. The defensive line was good, strong against the run, but inconsistent as pass rushers and could not stop the pass. And of course, his teams relied too heavily on the run game and didn't have much of a passing game, which is something that you cannot do in the modern NFL. And that was definitely, especially after A.J. Brown was traded, which was a big mistake by the Titans when he was their coach. But he's going to have to prove that he can adapt as a head coach in the 21st century instead of acting like we're back in the 1950s. Vrabel gives me the same kind of vibes as a Tom Coughlin type of coach, who was good in the 90s, but after his 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, you really saw that Coughlin just could not adapt. And I fear that could be the same case for Mike Vrabel and the Patriots. Although I do think that they take a step forward this year because the run game is going to be better and that defense is going to be better as well. But that passing attack does need to improve. The offensive line, we need to see if Will Campbell can solidify the left side of that offensive line to help protect Drake May. I do think Drake May will have a better year 2 than he did year 1. So we shall see. I do think that the Patriots will probably end up winning 6 to 7 games this year, which is definitely somewhat of an improvement over last year. As far as the Dolphins are concerned, I'm have a hard time seeing them making the playoffs, but I am not shutting the door on them making the playoffs. Their concern is really just stay healthy. If you can stay healthy, you have a shot. But I really think the ceiling for this team is 8 to 9 wins, and that could also mean that since he's had multiple seasons like this, ending in injuries and not addressing the offensive line very well, and leading to Tua missing a significant time, I could very easily see this being Mike McDaniel's last season as Miami Dolphins head coach. So because he's on the hot seat, I very much believe that McDaniel could be replaced after this season. So that's why the Dolphins are listed as the number 2 team in the division, but also, personally, I don't think they make the playoffs this year, but they could if another team helps them by beating another team that is also in contention for the playoffs. And for the 6th best division in the league, that, in my opinion, has to go to the NFC West. Partially because the 49ers may be closing the door on their Super Bowl run because they've paid Brock Purdy and they've traded Deebo Samuel. Christian McCaffrey ain't getting any younger and he's still getting injured. So who knows how much longer he'll have in the NFL. And although he's great when healthy, but how long is that going to last? And they lost Dre Greenlaw. They lost Hafunga, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, the safety. They lost the cornerback Ward in the offseason. And Ayuk is still recovering from the injury. Pearsall, unproven. So really their only weapons are an injured McCaffrey, who is recovering from injury, a recovering Ayuk, an unproven Pearsall, and George Kittle. And then I don't even remember who the other receiver is that they have now after they let Deebo leave in free agent, via trade. So I'm not that confident in the 49ers at this point. We shall see. Hopefully they make a comeback. The Rams are the only team I see in this division that are legit playoff contenders. However, they've got an aging quarterback, and their defense is being revamped a little bit. And that's because last year was the first year after Aaron Donald retired, and they did replace him with Jared Verse and the other FSU defensive lineman. I'm forgetting his name right now, but he was very, very good for FSU, and I liked him a lot. But the two of them are going to have to take major steps forward in order to replace Donald's production. In addition, they don't have a proven receiver in the middle of their room as a replacement for Cooper Kupp. Devonta Adams is good, but he's getting older. Puka Nacua, young, outside receiver with a lot of upside. But Tutu Atwell, are we going to think that he's going to replace the production of Cooper Kupp? I'm not sure. And like I said, I don't know how much time Devonta Adams has. So we shall see. I do think the Rams are the best team in this division, though. Also, the Seattle Seahawks, I think they take a step back because of Mike McDonald does not have a super talented quarterback heading the quarterback room. They've got Sam Darnold, which he was really good for the Vikings, but also you still saw the old Sam Darnold at times as well. like in that game against the Jags, where the Vikings only mustered 4 field goals, no touchdowns at all, and he threw multiple picks. Of course, the Jags offense without Trevor Lawrence couldn't make anything happen on offense, but the fact that the Jags' weak defense last year was able to get 3 interceptions, I believe, off of Darnold does say something. So the Seahawks don't have nearly as good of an offensive line as the Vikings did. They don't have the receiving talent that the Vikings did, nor do they have a tight end like the Vikings did. So their biggest weapon is Jackson Smith-Njigba, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And that's pretty much about it for the Seahawks offense, is the receiver that I just mentioned, along with Kenneth Walker Jr. and Zach Charbonnet. And Walker consistently gets injured, and so we'll see how the Seahawks do, but I'm not super confident in them making the playoffs this year. And also the Cardinals, they're probably the next best team to make the playoffs this year for the NFC West, but Kyler, he's got to stay consistent. And Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm just going to say this right now. MHJ, you've got to produce this year in order to stake your claim as one of the best young receivers in this league, because you've got the reputation. You've got it from your father. You've got to make him proud. Now, so moving on to the 5th best division in the league, I've got the AFC South. And I don't want anyone coming at me and saying that I put them this high because I'm a Jags fan. I put them this high because the Texans are really good, and I do think the Jags, with Liam Cohen as the head coach and the play caller, are the second best team in the division. I believe that Trevor Lawrence has the talent to be neck and neck with CJ Stroud in this division. I think Trevor is going to have the best season of his young career so far in year 5. I think the run game is going to be night and day this year compared to last year. I definitely think Travis Etienne finds the end zone more than 2 times this year. And I think he at least has more than 4.2 yards per carry, which is a whole half yard more average than last year, because I think that the interior of the offensive line has improved significantly. You've got a center who knows the scheme from being in Tampa. You've also got a younger guard to replace Brandon Scherf, who was often injured anyways, who can actually open up some holes in the running game. And Ezra Cleveland is no slouch as a blocker either. And if one of those guys goes down, you've got Wyatt Milam, the rookie, who can also play left guard, right guard, or center. And he also played some tackle as well, so you've got position flexibility there as well. I do think he's best suited as an interior lineman, but in a pinch, if there's an injury, you can put him at tackle. And he did well there at West Virginia. So I definitely can see Wyatt Milam becoming one of the better guards in the NFL in the next couple of years. And so I believe Ezra Cleveland is only a short-term solution at left guard, and that Makari or Milam will eventually be the starter there. And Makari can also play center, so if Hainsey goes down, Makari can slide into center and Milam can fill in at right guard. We'll see how things go, but I definitely think that this offensive line is improved. The play calling is going to be way better, and the weapons, you've got Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter at receiver. You've got Brenton Strange, who I think is ready for a breakout season. You've got Diami Brown, who I think is also going to break out as well. He played very well for the Commanders in the playoffs this past season. So let's see him do that for a full season. I think he very well could. And the defense, I do think, is going to be a lot better. I think Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker are going to get after the quarterback more consistently this year. I also could see that Devin Lloyd has a career season. And we're just going to have to see how the secondary plays. But when Travis Hunter is on the field for the defense, it's probably going to be for red zone defense, as well as third downs, third longs, certain situations where he's going to have a chance to get his hands on the ball as a defensive player. And even though he might not log many snaps per game on defense, there's a chance that he logs a couple of interceptions throughout the season that could mean the difference between winning games and losing games. So I do think Travis Hunter is going to be a massive difference maker on both sides of the ball. No matter how many snaps he actually plays on defense, I think he's going to make a difference when he is on the field. Now, the reason why I have the Colts as the number 3 team in the division is because I'm not sold on Anthony Richardson, nor am I sold on Daniel Jones as the quarterback. I do like Josh Downs as a receiver. Michael Pittman is a fine outside receiver. Jonathan Taylor is a great running back. I really liked Tyler Warren in the upcoming draft, and I was on board with the Jags either staying at number 5 and taking Warren or trading back and picking Tyler Warren. I loved his game, but I'm also happy that we moved up for Travis Hunter. So that's how highly I think of Tyler Warren. I think he's going to help the Colts offense out a lot. But Shane Steichen has to use Tyler Warren correctly, or it's going to fail. And that's why I think that the Colts end up as the 3rd team in the division and do not make the playoffs. I think the Jags have a chance to make the playoffs, while I don't think the Colts will, though I won't slam the door shut on the Colts making the playoffs. I do think it's very unlikely that they do. The Titans, they're not making the playoffs. Plain and simple. They're probably picking top 5 once again. Maybe top 3. But probably in that pick 4, 5, maybe pick 6 at best for the team. Cam Ward, I can see a bright future for, but the Titans just have to do something about that pass defense, and they have to get back on track, plain and simple. I don't see it happening yet this year because it's going to be a transition year for Cam Ward. Moving on to the 4th best division in the league, and that will be the AFC North. The Ravens are a clear favorite to have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year. However, the Steelers are probably the 3rd best team in the division, while the Bengals are the 2nd best team in the division. However, I am not super confident in the Bengals' defense at all. Their defense is pretty barren, especially since they have yet to give the contract extension to Trey Hendrickson, and they have not even signed their first-round rookie. And sure, it's not money, but the words of the team owner are concerning because he's basically blaming Shamar Stewart for not signing the contract when it's been reported that the Bengals have put some sort of weird language in his contract. That is the problem, is take the weird language out and just sign him. And same thing with Hendrickson. Pay the man. Just do it. your defense will be a lot better with the two of them together. And as far as the Steelers are concerned, I think it's getting close to time for the Steelers to consider a change at head coach. I love Tomlin, great guy, but it might just be time to change the tone, change the message. And I think a young, up-and-coming coach, like maybe the Bucs' new offensive coordinator, I think he could be a good candidate to rejuvenate the Steelers' offense while keeping the tradition of a quality defense in Pittsburgh. The Browns, on the other hand, I do see them as a top 3 pick in the upcoming draft, and there's no shortage of drama in Cleveland. You've got 5 quarterbacks, well, technically 4 because Watson's not going to play at all. You've got the old timer in Joe Flacco, who was really good in his prime, and he did show up and play pretty well for the Colts last year, and he helped the Browns make the playoffs the year before. But how long is he going to be able to sustain that? Then you've got Kenny Pickett, who I'm not sold on, but he's apparently the clear favorite right now for the starting job. And then you've got 3rd-round rookie Dylan Gabriel, and then 5th-round rookie Shedeur Sanders. And people were saying Shedeur was the 2nd-best quarterback in the draft, but I wasn't really sold on him, honestly. The man took too many sacks, held on to the ball too long, and was way too cocky. So yeah, there's my thoughts on the AFC North. The 3rd best team in the league, not team, but the 3rd best division in the league right now, I'd say, is the AFC West, because you've got the Chiefs, who are the runners-up to the Super Bowl champs last year, and have 3 Super Bowl championships under their belts, under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. You also have the Broncos, who made the playoffs last year. We'll see if they can sustain that momentum going forward with Bo Nix, who looks like he's proving everyone wrong, that he is indeed a good quarterback. Then you've got the Chargers with Justin Herbert. Can Herbert become one of the better quarterbacks in the league? We'll see. I do like Omari and Hampton, who they drafted in round 1. I do think Trey Harris will be a big help, but they did just have Mike Williams retire from out of nowhere, and that will put a damper on things a little bit. He is a really good receiver when healthy, but Williams has struggled to be healthy lately. Maybe the Chargers sign another receiver to get through the season. I could see maybe Gabe Davis, maybe. The dude was a good blocker, and last year he was just injured too much, but Davis can play, and if you make him the 3rd receiver on your team after McConkey and Trey Harris, make him wide receiver 3, he's going to be able to help you out if he can stay healthy. And he's not going to cost a lot either. Give him a 1-year prove-it deal and see how things go from there. But I think Davis would be a good fit for the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. Then you've got the Raiders, who are obviously going to be the worst team in the division. They could be looking for a future quarterback as well, but they do have Geno Smith for 2 years, and they've got Ashton Shinty, who I think is going to be a beast, and they also have Brock Bowers, who is an absolute monster at the tight end position. So we'll see how that goes, and their defense is not that bad, actually, especially their front 7 under Patrick Graham. So I do see the Raiders as possibly picking top 10. However, I don't think they are picking top 5. Moving on to the 2nd best division in the league, and I have that as being the NFC East. The Eagles, Super Bowl champions, not much to say about that. I expect them to be in contention again this year. The Washington Commanders, second best team in the division. Scary Terry needs to be signed. The Commanders' offense can be scary. The Commanders' defense has a chance to be above average. So we'll see how things go there. The Cowboys are mid at best, and the Giants' offense is going to struggle outside Malik Neighbors. And the Giants' defense is going to be really good. The Giants' defense and Neighbors are really what's going to carry that team. But I don't foresee them making much noise. Maybe not picking number 3 again, but maybe picking in the 5 to 7 range in the draft. That brings us to the best division in the NFL, the NFC North, where honestly, all 4 teams have a shot at the playoffs. The Lions are going to win the division, hands down. I do think the talent there is too good. I believe that the new coordinators are going to have some issues early on, but I don't think it's going to be something that's going to last. The Vikings are likely to make the playoffs again as well. I think that J.J. McCarthy, if he can stay healthy, is going to have a really good season. And he doesn't have to do too much because he's got 2 of the best young receivers in the league and 1 of the best tight ends in the league. And Aaron Jones is no slouch as a running back, even though he's towards the latter part of his career. He's still really good. And Jordan Mason did show flashes as well when given a chance. So that's positive. And the Vikings defense, they're not going to be able to be counted out under the tutelage of Brian Flores. He's always managed to have good defenses. The Packers, their defense has been revamped under Jeff Hafley. That's one of the reasons why the Jaguars hired Campanelli as their new defensive coordinator, because that linebacker group had made significant improvement. And also, the Packers did finally draft a receiver in the first round, Matthew Golden. He's going to have a really good rookie season. I can feel that. And of course, Josh Jacobs is no slouch as a running back. And the Packers' offensive line is pretty good, pretty solid. I could see the Packers making a push for playoffs as well. However, I could also see the Bears making a push for the playoffs because Ben Johnson is a offense mastermind, hence why everyone wanted him as their head coach. And also, not Justin Fields, but Caleb Williams, I think is going to take a major step forward. The Bears have a really good young tight end in Colston Loveland. Cole Kmet is not a bad tight end either. You've got Rome Odunze, who I think is going to emerge as a pretty good, reliable target. You've got DJ Moore, who's reliable. You've got a good running back. You've got a totally revamped offensive line. I don't see too many significant holes on this Bears team. Maybe not a whole lot of elite talent yet, but I do see a lot of upside with this team. So I do think the Bears may still finish as the 4th team in the division. However, that could still be 8 to 9 wins. I really think it's going to be a tight division, and really all 4 teams, I believe, have a shot at making the playoffs, and that's why I have them as the number 1 team, but division in the NFL. If you like this content, please like, comment, and share. I will keep posting more videos about the NFL, and I will also, once the hurricane season picks up, I intend to post some videos regarding active storms as well with updates, and we'll see about going live during the time heading into landfall. So keep tuned for more content, and like I said, I hope you all enjoy this video, and See y'all next time.